Hi friends, it's Heather with Running with Scissors, and today we are painting the third and final door hanger in our first quarterly shipment. That is the cup of cocoa. And you're going to want to grab your wood blank, and then there's a bag that has a carbon sheet or a graphite sheet in it and a piece of paper, and then of course your supply bag. All right, so you'll need all of those things to get started, and you'll notice we finally got the stickers for our bags. This one says a cup of cocoa, so that is what you need for today. Okay, so let's go over supplies real quick that we're gonna need and paints that we're going to need. Of course, you're gonna want to have a paper plate or an egg carton or egg crate ready. I just have a paper plate. We're a little bit at war with the egg cartons in our house because my husband's a mentor in the public schools and he saves all that kind of stuff for his projects. So he gets dibs on the egg crate, so I get paper plates. You're gonna want baby wipes, of course. Oh, those are always great to have handy. And you're gonna want a pair of scissors to do your roll cluster at the end. Of course, you need a paint cup, water cup. Paper towels are handy, all of your brushes and your paints, your Posco paint pens, and you are going to need this little tool that is in your supply box. This is a embosser, but some people might call it a scribe. It has little balls on the ends there, and it's for transferring, like embossing, transferring designs to things. So you're going to use that today. Yours is pink, mine is wood. They come in all kinds of colors. And what else? I said your cup of water. Okay, your paints. I think your paints are next. Let's go over what paint colors we're going to use. On your sheet, it tells you, but we're going to use a white and black. So any white, any black. We're going to use brown, any brown. You have brown oxide and red. If you have red apple, so red apple will be great. You're going to use a cobalt blue, and you are going to use Regency blue. That is just it's just a blue like this. That's your cobalt blue. It's just like a true blue color, and your Regency blue is just a blue like that. It can be any blue that you want, and of course you're always welcome to do any colors that you want. You do not have to copy me. If you don't have a blue you like, make a blue. Just take your true blue or cobalt blue and mix it with white. Mix a little bit of blue with white until you get the color that you want. All right, let's get started. So I am going to start by painting the white areas. I'm going to paint the whipped cream white, and I'm also going to paint all of the candy cane white because I'm going to do my candy cane red and white stripe like a traditional candy cane, but it is going to be easier just to paint the red stripe over top of the white instead of doing one white stripe, one red stripe. All right, so we're just going to paint that whole thing. And per my usual routine, I'm going to start out with an angle brush, and I'm going to start out with, surprise, my number 11. My number 11 angle brush. And I'm just going to put a little bit of white paint on my paper plate to get me started. And we are going to outline this entire design with our Posca pens. So this is one design where you don't have to be super crazy about the lines, but it is a good idea to start teaching yourself how to go up to those lines without going over into the next one. So keep that in mind. So as you guys are doing these, if you want to post on the VIP group in the Facebook page, we would like that. It will give us some idea on how you guys are doing, what you like or don't like, some areas maybe that we could improve in ourselves or areas that we can help you improve in, you have to let us know, or else we won't know. So feel free to message us or post in that group. If you're having trouble kind of grasping the concept of something on these door hanger paintings, let us know, and we will do everything that we can to help you through it or to improve our teaching methods to make it better. This is new for us as well. While we have been painting for many, many years, teaching you to paint semi-freehand like this is pretty new. We kind of just do our thing, and we want to make sure that we are giving enough to you so that you don't feel like you're stuck, that you don't feel like you don't know what you're doing. So feel free to ask and we shall help. Also, we do have the remainder of the 3/4 door hangers planned already, but you guys can always weigh in on designs that you would like to see. Just do that in the VIP group. All right, that's one coat of white on the sky here, and I definitely know it's going to take more than one coat. I'm going to get out the majority of the paint out of my brush, and then I'm going to put it in my water cup like usual. I'm not going to rinse it out. I know I'm going to use it again in a minute or so. A little bit of water in it. It's not going to hurt anything. While I wait for that white to dry to put another coat on it, I'm going to keep on going. I'm going to paint my cookie next, and my cookie needs to be like a little bit lighter shade of brown. But of course I have lighter shades of brown, and by this time you may also have lighter shades. But if you don't, just a little bit of brown paint mixed with some white paint is going to mix up that shade for you nicely. So you can just decide what shade of light brown you want your cookie. Mine's going to be a chocolate chip cookie, so I'm going to mix it a little on the light side, but feel free to do whatever you want with your cookie when it comes to color. You hear me scrambling over here. I cannot find my mixing brush. Don't know what I did with it, so I just grabbed a different one. All right, so remember, when you're mixing a lighter color, like when you need to mix a color with white to make a lighter shade of it, you want very little of the color and you want more of white. So let me show you my plate here. I got brown, and then I got some white off to the side here. I got white on both sides, so I'm gonna need 2 puddles of white, one that I'm gonna keep white and one that's gonna be brown. And so I've got my brown here as well. I know I'm gonna use brown for my chocolate chips and the cocoa part, so I don't mind having that brown on my plate. Now you notice I just picked up a little bit of brown with my brush. And again, I'm not using a great brush to mix because mixing wears down the bristles in your brush. So I'm just pulling some of that brown over here to this white. I want less brown, more white. I can always add more brown, right? But it's harder to add more white. You would end up adding a ton more white if you got it too dark. And by the time you've made it to this video, I hope that you were excited enough to maybe go in to a Michaels or a Hobby Lobby and check out their brands of paint and all the color options that you have. Hopefully you're not super crazy like I am and bought every single shade. And hopefully you've taken some time to look through the videos that we have uploaded onto the Facebook page. I know there's a video on there where I talk about the different paint brushes that you have and the sizes, and I show you what I keep all of my paints in. So that could be an option for you to keep everything all organized and at your fingertips. So, okay, that's the brown I'm gonna be using, and I'm just gonna come and paint my cookie while the rest of my white dries. Remember, if you didn't wanna wait and you didn't wanna switch colors, you could always use a hair dryer to dry that up. So I'm just gonna come in. Yes, I am using the brush that I mixed my paint up with. That doesn't bother me. It's a liner brush, it's a fairly thin brush, but I'm gonna go ahead and use that to get my up close here, my outlining. I call it outlining, that just seems the easiest thing to call it. I'm gonna use that to get my outlining of my cookie done. And then I'm gonna grab another angle brush so I can start filling in this cookie. I'm grabbing a number 7. And I'm gonna fill the rest of this cookie in. Remember not to be leaving any lines of paint, no bumpers. Sweep all those up with your brush. You do not want bumpers of paint. Okay, we're gonna move back over to this white here, and we're gonna put another coat of white on. All right, that should be it for the coats that you're gonna need on your white areas. Just remember to come back in and smooth out any of those bumpers that you have of paint. Unless you are palette knife painting, you should not have clumps of paint. Smooth those right on out. All right, I am gonna go ahead and clean up my brushes. My white brush. And while I wait for my cookie to finish drying completely, I am going to work on this dark brown area. So once again, just grab your brown oxide. I already have some on my plate from when I made my lighter cookie color, so I'm going to use that. I'm also going to grab a small liner or angle brush so I can get in close here, and I am grabbing a number 4 angle brush. A number 4 angle brush. And then I'm just gonna come in here and I'm going to fill in this area. I am coloring what is the cocoa part of my door hanger. So this is the cocoa. Now some of these areas are quite small, so you'll probably just stick right with that number 4 brush to fill it all in. You can switch over to a bigger brush when you get to the bigger cocoa drip. Now brown is a finicky little color, so don't be surprised if we have to put 3 coats of brown on. We will see. All right, and then we're gonna move over to this last bigger one. And I'm gonna go ahead and do all of my outlining with this small number 4. And then I'm gonna switch over to a slightly bigger brush to do the fill in. All right, while we wait for our brown to dry completely before we put another coat on that, I'm gonna switch back to my cookie here. And I'm gonna put another coat on my cookie. All right, and that's it for my cookie. Painting the lighter shade of brown. And next we'll come in with the darker brown as soon as that dries, and we'll make the chocolate chips. Just remember I said mine was going to be a chocolate chip cookie. And I'm gonna come back into my cocoa, and I'm gonna put another coat on that. Once again, I'm using a very fine angle brush for these smaller areas. I am using a number 4. If you need to use a smaller one, by all means. And if a liner brush is more to your liking, then go ahead and use a liner brush. Remember, smaller brushes hold less paint. So when you're using a smaller brush, you do have to dip back into your paint more frequently. Hopefully when that dries, we will see that we do not need a 3rd coat on it. But remember what I said about brown. Brown can be pretty finicky. Sometimes brown likes to be babied. Brown's a little extra. And there is my brown. And I think 2 coats is gonna be enough to satisfy brown today. So I'm gonna go ahead and clean my brush out. All right, let's move on. Now I'm gonna paint my cup, and I'm still waiting for my cookie to dry a little bit. So while I wait for my cookie to dry and my whipped cream to dry so I can paint my candy cane, I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna paint my cup. Now, I haven't decided quite yet what I'm gonna do with the handle. I think I'm gonna do a little something extra. But for the moment, I know what I need to do. I need to get a whole a coat of paint on this entire cup. And to begin with, I know I'm going to paint my cup the Regency blue. You can paint your cup any color you want. Do not have to paint it the color that I chose. But for me, it's going to be Regency blue. So I'm just going to go ahead and start with my number 11 angle brush. I don't feel like I need a smaller brush here, but if you feel like you need a smaller brush, by all means, use a smaller brush to get into those areas around the cocoa. But I'm gonna just go ahead and start right out with a number 11. And just like every time I paint a door hanger, I start out with the outline. I like to get around the scored lines where I change paint colors. I like to do that first, and then I like to go back and fill in all of the larger areas. Pick up your bumpers of paint as you go. You can leave them for a second, but then go back and grab them. Remember, acrylic paint does not dry as quick as our house paint, the latex does. So you have a little bit more time to work with it. Now, if this were our house paint, the latex paint, when I say house, I mean running with scissors house. Studio paint. Studio paint dries much faster, and you couldn't leave those bumpers of paint. It's actually quite hard to do a door hanger like this with the studio paint because the studio paint does not flow as smoothly. It's much thicker, it dries faster, and so it can be done. Yes, we've done it plenty of times, but it just goes, it dries so much faster that it does not stay fluid long enough. Okay, so now that all my outlining's done, I get to go and fill it all in. And I've got a lot of surface to cover here. So I'm gonna switch over to a 1-inch brush as soon as I finish the handle. So for now, I'm gonna go ahead and use my number 11 still and just finish out this handle. My number 11 still has quite a bit of paint in it, so it's great too because I can work the majority of the paint out of it before I switch brushes. I don't like to put a paintbrush filled with paint in my water cup. I'd like to try and get out as much paint as possible first, even if that means I have to dab it off onto a paper towel. Right now we're just gonna work it all out of our brush right onto our coffee cup, our cocoa cup, and we're gonna switch over to a 1-inch brush and we're gonna fill in. Now, one thing I didn't say at the beginning of this when I started the blue, if you decided to mix your own blue, make sure you mix up enough so you're not getting 2 different shades of blue in the middle of getting your cup done. Which I know that's common sense, and I'm sure if you mixed your own blue, you already did that. I also know it doesn't take much paint. We had just over a quarter blob of paint on our plate here for this blue, and we'll work through most of that blob, but not all of it. All right, so that's our first coat of our blue. I'm working out the remaining paint in my brush, and then I'm gonna put my brush in water, but I'm not gonna clean it all yet because I know I'm gonna come back to it in just a minute. All right, I'm gonna keep moving because we still have lots to do. So now I'm gonna move on to the chocolate chips because I still have brown paint on my plate and I don't want to waste that paint. It is just a little paint, but it's enough to get the chips done. So I'm gonna go ahead and I am going to put chocolate chips on my cookie. Now, chocolate chips aren't round. I mean, they're round when they start, but when they melt, they're not round anymore. So I'm not gonna worry about getting them perfect. I'm just gonna come in and I'm gonna use my round brush and I'm just gonna get some chocolate chips in there. Now, brown paint, remember, you can't get by it. You're gonna have to have 2 coats. So, no matter what you do. So we're just gonna go ahead and we're gonna just get some chips in here. We're gonna get some close to the edge. I like lots of chips in my chocolate chip cookies. And of course my chips are gonna be all different sizes, so don't stress it. I'm using a number 5 rounded brush. You can use a liner brush. An angle brush is probably the only brush I would say that wouldn't work. An angle and of course a fan brush. All right, that's probably enough chocolate chips. We're gonna clean our brush off. And those are gonna take a minute to dry, like more than a minute. And I'm gonna come over to my candy cane. I'm gonna start my candy cane. And I'm using my red apple paint. And I am going to use a pretty fine angle brush. I'm going to use a number 4. Now, if you want, you can draw in your stripes with a pencil, if you want. I happen to have a pencil sitting here. I don't know why, honestly, but it's here, so I just grabbed it. And I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna draw in just some stripes I'm drawing them about 1 inch wide. I'm gonna go over this with a black paint pen, so I'm not really concerned about the pencil marks. Now, if you ever want to draw stripes like this that you don't have to worry about not covering, you could use like a chalk, right? Because it will just mix in with your paint. But we're gonna go over this with a paint marker, a paint pen later, so I'm not really concerned. Let me show you up close if you can see what that looks like. Now, I watch on the big screen in the studio, and because of the light over top of my painting station, I can't see what you can see on the screen. I'm pretty sure that you can see that just fine, but from where I'm sitting, I can't see if you can see those lines. I hope that you can. I'll pay attention when I edit the video. All right, I am going to start painting my candy cane, and I'm gonna start the very bottom section with my red. So again, I'm just using that number 4 angle brush, and I'm gonna use it not only to outline but to fill, because these sections are pretty small. Remember, put this wood cutout as close to you as you need it, whatever makes you the most comfortable painting. If you need to pick it up, pick it up. There's plenty of painters who do not paint with their projects sitting on the table. Lots of people paint it up and paint in the air. I even know a painter who does painting door hangers like this, and she puts hers on an easel, which I thought was kind of strange, but it works for her, so whatever works for you is the most important thing. Remember, if you make mistakes, you can clean them up with a baby wipe if you get to them fast enough. If it's too much, you can always paint over top of it. And remember, if it's just a matter of going over the lines a little bit, your paint pen will clean that up later. So don't overthink it and don't stress it. Okay, that's my first coat of red. That's gonna take a minute to dry. While we're waiting for that to dry, I'm gonna come back over to my chocolate chips, and I'm gonna put a second coat on each of my chips, and hopefully that will be the last of it. Now, it's gonna be kind of hard to mimic your chip exactly because, you know, they're not like perfect. So just go in there the best that you can and get another coat on each of your chips. All right, that's each of my chips, and I'm going to be done with my brown. I'm gonna rinse that brush out. And then I'm gonna come back over and get a second coat on my candy cane red. Alright, there's my second coat on my candy cane. And now my blue, which looks fantastic, and it almost doesn't even need another coat. My mug. I'm just going to come into the areas that need another coat, and I'm going to just put another coat on them. But as far as putting a second coat on the whole entire thing, it does not need it. So I'm just gonna come into the areas that need it and put that there. Now if you want, I'm not going to, I am just going to leave my cup a solid blue with the exception of the handle here, which I'll show you in just a minute what I'm thinking of for that. But you can always paint stripes on your cup or polka dots. Whatever you want to do to your cup is fine. It's up to you. For me, I'm just gonna leave it. I just want it that solid blue color. Okay. All right, we've got to wait just a minute for the rest of this to dry here. It's looking good though, looking good. You see what I just did it without thinking, and then I thought I should explain to you what I did. I noticed I had missed yet one spot really close to the edge there. And instead of dirtying my brush again, which I had just cleaned, I just grabbed what was left of the blue on my paper plate with a finger and swiped down to cover that little bit up. It probably wasn't even necessary to cover it because I'm going to outline everything with a paint marker, but yeah, I still did it. Okay, so I want to come into the edges of the cup, and I want a little bit darker of a blue. I don't want to overdo this. I just want a little tiny bit. So I'm going to take my cobalt blue, and I'm going to put a little bit on my plate, about a dime size. And then I'm going to take my Regency blue, and I'm going to put a little bit more on my plate because I did not have enough. I used everything that I had. And I'm going to take and just mix the two together a little bit at a time. I just want a slightly darker shade. Okay, so let me show you this blue. Okay, so you can see right here we have our Regency blue. That's the color that we painted our cup, and it's just in the very, very corner here, okay? And then this is our Cobalt blue. And I just put them side by side and I started mixing them together until I got a blue that I liked. And that's this blue here. So I'm gonna use my brush and I'm gonna take off most of the paint. Like, I don't want a ton of paint on my brush. And I'm just gonna start going along the edges of my cup all the way around. Not solid, okay? I'm gonna break it up just a little bit. And I'm just gonna brush a little bit in there. And then, yes, I'm gonna take my finger and I'm gonna smooth it out. I just want a little bit in there. I don't want a ton. I don't want a solid line. I don't want it to look like it's deliberate. I just want to darken up these edges a little bit. Now you could use a baby wipe as well instead of your finger, but the paint will come off your finger. It's not a big deal. And it works really good doing it that way. You know, besides, art is messy, right? Art's a little messy. I just love what these little extras do for a project. Like, I already love the way that this looks with just that little bit. All right, now I'm gonna do the same up here, but I have to be a little bit more gentle when I come up this way because I don't want to get this blue onto my whipped cream. So I'm gonna just come in here really gently and then try and smooth it out. Okay, hopefully you can see that well enough. I'm gonna do the same thing between the cocoa here. And I'm gonna do it on this other side as well, and I believe that's out of your camera range, so let me get it back over there and see if I can come at it from a different angle so you can still see. Okay. All right. Let me flip it around here. So that's what it looks like with just some of the darker blue along the edges. Okay, I'm gonna clean out my brush. I'm done doing that. And now I'm going to, I cleaned out this brush. I'm just gonna use it again. I want some stripes on the handle, and I've been deliberating this whole entire time how I was gonna do this. And I think I just decided. I'm gonna use that same blue I just mixed up, and I'm going to use some white. And I have just a little bit of white left on my plate, so I'm gonna use that. Probably won't have enough. I'll squeeze out just a tiny bit more. I literally put like a pea size on. That's all I'm gonna need. And I'm gonna start with this blue that I have mixed, And I'm just gonna do a stripe all the way around. And I'm not gonna overthink this. It's gonna end up with 3 colors because I'm going to use the existing color of the cup handle. So stripe, and then I'm gonna put a white stripe and then the blue stripe. So I'm leaving this like extra wide here before I make this next stripe. You see how extra wide that is? The blank space. And I'm not gonna put more than 1 coat on this. I don't even care if it covers fully. I didn't draw this out ahead of time. I'm just winging it as I go. Okay. And then I'm going to mostly rinse my brush off. I don't care if I still have a little bit of blue in it. It makes no difference to me. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to come in the next spot here and just do a swipe of white. And then I'm just coming back with that same blue I used to do the edges, and I'm going back over the areas that I decided to paint the stripes on. I didn't think it would matter to me, but I really liked how this dark blue looked along the edges. I just kind of want to fill that back in, where I put the white and the lighter shade of the cup there. Mostly just, you know, where I put the white in there. And you can see that my white is pretty pale there. I'm not gonna try and get that darker, make it stand out. I just wanted the handle to have a little something extra to it. All right, so that's how I'm gonna leave it. That's it. All right, let's keep moving. Now, we talked about you could do polka dots on the cup. You could do stripes on the cup. You could do snowflakes on the cup. Whatever you want to do to the back of the cup, you could do to the back of the cup. I don't want to do anything to the back of the cup. I want to leave it. I'm going to put my letters in here, and I might put some snowflakies or something on top of my words, but for the most part, I'm going to leave it just like that. That's how I'm going to leave it. All right, I've got one brush here I got to rinse out because the majority of my painting is done. I've got to do all the add-ons now. So I'm gonna go ahead and clean up my brushes and put them away. It's very important to me that I keep my brushes in great condition. I don't like to leave them wet for very long. Don't like to leave them soaking. I'm done with my paint for now. And I am going to move on to doing these letters. Okay, so now this is new to you. You've never done this before, so we're going to learn. You are going to take these two pieces now. This is your wording template, and this is your graphite paper. And you're going to put your graphite paper down on your cup. Now it goes the dark side down and the tissue side up. So the lighter side goes up. And then you're going to put your template on top of it, wherever you want it, your words. If you need to cut around this a little bit so you can see where your words are better, by all means, you can do that. It would be equivalent to doing something like this. Getting that off the way. Maybe you need to lift this paper up, the graphite paper, and see where you want your letters, and then put the graphite paper back down and put your words over top of it. However you want to do that is up to you. And then you're going to take your embosser or your scribe, whatever you want to call it. You can use a pencil even. Anything with a pointy end that's not like super sharp, you can use, okay? So now you're gonna I'm gonna use the small end, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna trace around the outside edges of all of these words. Once we get going, we don't want to move the template or the carbon paper. So just start anywhere you would like. Make sure you kind of keep track of where you started. And then you're just going to gently press. I promise it's transferring. It's just a gentle press. And you're going to work all the way around all of the letters. Now, this is going to take a minute. So I will end up speeding up the video for you. So you may have to pause the video while you finish this. All right, but what you want to do is you just want to make sure you get around the top and then keep going around the bottom. Just trace the entire outline. Don't worry if you're not perfect. Try to stay on the black. Try not to go outside too far. You know, you don't want to be down here. But if you come inside the letter a little bit, like into this area here, that's okay. All right, and you're gonna make sure, just do it over the whole entire thing. And because I am left-handed, I will tend to work from the right to the left. It makes it a little bit easier on me. However you want to do it, whatever is comfortable for you, is how we want you to do it. All right, I've finished tracing mine. Now, before I completely remove this, I'm going to press down in the corner just to hold it where it's at, and I'm going to lift up on the opposite corner and just lift it up and make sure that I got everything. Now I see I missed a little bit on this S, so I'm going to just fold it back down and come back over to this S. Perfect. Okay, now I'm going to lift that out of the way. And show you what you did. You see that? All right, now we're gonna take our paint marker and we're gonna use our medium-sized paint marker. This is a number 5, if you have the finer ones, which is a number 3, you can use the number 3 as well. I like the number 5, so that's the one I'm going to use. And I am just going to trace over top of this with my paint marker. Now I'm going to get as close to one edge as I can, and then I'll probably have to overlap with the other one, right? And because I am left-handed, I'm going to start from the right and work my way left so I'm not going back into my paint with my wrist or the side of my hand. I want you to concentrate more on making this fluid than about tracing your actual lines, okay? So yes, we got to cover up your line, your graphite line. But I want you to worry more about making this a fluid stroke than I want you to worry about mimicking where your line is. I hope that makes sense. So sometimes your paint marker might go over where your line was, but that's okay as long as it's more of a fluid motion. I mean, we know cursive, right? We're still a generation that learned cursive. So we know how to make a nice cursive A or the loop on the W. Okay, so that's my first word. And I just made sure that I covered all of my graphite lines. Except I missed a little bit here. I'll go back and grab that at the end of my M. But I also just wanted to make sure that I'm staying very fluid with my letters. I don't want it to look like I was looking at a screen as I was writing, you know what I mean? I don't want it to be jaggedy or sketchy. Now, once you're feeling brave enough, you can do this with a paintbrush. You have to use a paint marker. All right, and I'm done. Now, I hope after doing that, if you used a Posca paint marker, I hope you see the value in Posca paint pens. We did that I did that whole entire Warm Winter Wishes without having to change pens, without having to shake, prime, anything. The paint pen, it didn't stutter, it didn't splatter. The paint pen works beautifully. Okay. That's that part, that's done. Now, I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna do all my accents with my black paint marker and my white paint marker. Now, I know that my whipped cream needs some loving. It just looks like a blob. So we need to make some improvements to our whipped cream. So we're gonna do that now. We're gonna do that with our black paint marker. And I'm just gonna come in here and I'm gonna do some swoops, okay? I'm gonna end up outlining everything as well. But to start out with, I'm gonna come in here to my whipped cream. And I'm just gonna make a swoop there. And then I'm gonna come up here and I'm gonna do the same thing here. I'm gonna swoop through here. Just like that. And then I'm gonna swoop on down here. I like to swoop. Just like that. And because that's not enough for me, I'm gonna add a little something else. I'm gonna come in here and I'm just gonna show you because I don't know how to describe what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go like this. And I'm gonna wrap it back around there. Little S's, like little S's. And I'm gonna do it again up here. Okay. All right, so now we got some swoops in there. And I'm gonna outline my candy cane. And I'm gonna outline the whole outside edge. You can do that, continue that with your number 5 there, but I'm gonna switch over to my number 7. I prefer number 7. It's short, squat, fat, and it's great for doing the outside edges. So I'm gonna do the outside edges. And I'm gonna do the whole entire thing, the whole entire outside edge. All right, not just the candy cane. I'm gonna do everything. Right around the outside edge of the cup. And the whipped cream. And now, I'm not putting my whole paint marker on the edge. I'm just putting half on the edge, half off. And that's how I do the outline with this big pen. Oops. Oh well. Got a little wide right there. We're not going to worry about that. We're just going to go ahead and leave it. Try not to stress all that stuff. Okay, that's the whole outside edge. And now I'm gonna take my number 5 again, and I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna trace all my score marks, all of them. Okay, candy cane, everything. Gonna trace all of it. So starting in this candy cane, I'm gonna come over top of where the red meets the white. Okay, make sure that you're covering your pencil mark. All right, so now down here, I'm gonna outline my candy cane real quick. And then I'm gonna come back in and finish my candy cane stripes. Just like that. And then I'm gonna outline the cup edge and all the cocoa marks. Now your paint marker should just follow your score lines. It's almost like a track. And then I'm gonna do the cocoa drips. Outline those as well. Just like that. Then I'm gonna do some fun stuff. Okay, well, I'm gonna actually make sure I got in the corners here because I know my big marker didn't want to get up into those corners. So I'm gonna do that. And then, let's see. Now I'm going to take and I'm going to use my white paint marker. Got one white, oh, yep, that's perfect. And I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna do some highlighting, okay? So I'm gonna put a bit like swoop here. And I'm gonna put a swoop here. And then one here. And I'm gonna come down and around the cup and up. And I don't care if I get the whole entire thing. I might do a little bit of sputtering so it's not all perfect. Just like that. I make sure I get the handle, both sides. And then I'm going to come into my cocoa. I'm gonna do a quick swoop here. And I'm gonna do the whole thing here. I'm gonna come here, go down, bring it up. Okay, that one got a little off and I don't like that, so I'm gonna fix it. Just gonna grab my my black paint marker. I'm gonna come back over top of that. And then I'm just gonna fix it here. Like that. Okay, see, no stressy, don't stress it. And then I'm gonna come in here. And I see that I forgot to do this edge here of my cocoa. So I'm gonna get that real quick. And I'm gonna come back over onto this side of my cocoa. And then I'm gonna get my little chocolate chips as well. Want to make a little, just a little mark on my chocolate chips. Now if you have the thinner marker, this would be better with a thinner marker, which I have, I just didn't grab. Okay, so let's see, what else? We want to do a little bit of our candy cane. So I'm gonna only do it on the red, of course. So there's the red. And now I think I'm actually gonna come in with a little bit of black on this candy cane, just at the top, and come around, which means I'll probably have to redo my white. Or not. That looks good. I like it, I like it. All right, let's see. What else does this need? I actually really don't think it needs much, but I think, let's try this. I want to kind of get some white in these letters. So I'm going to take my fine white. You can do this with a liner brush as well. And okay, so now I am going to, I feel like my cup needs something else. I didn't put dots or stripes or anything on it, so I feel like it needs some snowflakes. So I'm going to come in with just my paint marker and I'm going to make some snowflakes. So I'm going to draw, first I'm going to draw a plus. I'm going to do it on an angle. Okay, so there's my plus sign. And then I'm going to draw an X, but I'm going to make sure that my lines aren't as long as on my plus sign. Okay, and then I'm going to come up to my longer parts of my plus sign, so my plus sign, and I'm going to do V's. Well, it's just on my plus sign, just the V's. All right, now I am going to put a dot at the end of the X's. And then through the X, let's see. Okay, let's do this. Let's do a dot here on each side of the plus sign near the X, just like that. And then what else can we do here? I think that actually looks pretty good, right? I like it. So let's come over here and do another one. So first I'm gonna do a plus, and then I'm gonna do an X. And then at the end of the plus marks, I'm gonna put V's. And on the end of the X, I'm gonna make little dots. And then in between each one of them, more dots. Okay. And then down here as well, I'm gonna do one more. This one won't be as big. Okay. All right. So now I'm gonna take my thin white paint marker. You could also use a liner brush for this. And I am just going to hit a couple areas on my words, like the rounded top pieces. And then I'm gonna hit the lower rounded area. Okay, and I'm gonna do the same thing on all the other ones. And you guys, I'm gonna call this done. So that's it for the painting. That's all I'm gonna do to it. Now we're gonna do our hanger and our bow cluster. So let's get started on that. All right, I'll move this guy out the way for a second. And going to take my ribbons. And because we have 2 different sizes, we're going to do each size individually. Fold them in half and then fold them up like a taco. And then we're going to snip from the folded edge up and out. Folded edge up and out. Same with the smaller one, smaller ribbon, narrower ribbon. Up like a taco and fold it. From the folded edge, cut up and out. And then we will have 4 pieces. So I'm going to make an X with each of the colors on this one. Just like that. Okay, and then I'm going to take my large zip tie, run it underneath all of it, and then I'm going to pick it all up. I'm going to cinch my zip tie closed, but not all the way tight. And then I'm going to kind of flatten my ribbons out a little bit, start working them into the bow cluster, make sure everything's even. Tighten that zip tie down most of the way. Take the other small zip tie and run it underneath the larger zip tie. And then we're going to tighten that big zip tie down all the way and trim that tail off. Throw that away. And we're going to take our cup of cocoa and our hanger, and we're going to feed both ends through a hole from the front to back. And we're going to bring those ends together, and we're going to tie an overhand knot in them, just like that. We're going to move the knot to the back of, I'm putting it to the back of the cookie. You can put it to the back of the candy cane, whichever. And then we're going to bring both of those loops to the top so they're evened. And then we're going to take the bow cluster, and I'm going to put it on the candy cane side. Remember, you can put it on whatever side you want, but because it will cover up that cute little cookie, I'm going to put it on the candy cane side. And then I'm going to tighten that zip tie down. And then I'm going to trim off the excess. And there you have your Warm Winter Wishes Cup of Cocoa door hanger. Hope you loved it. Make sure that you share your pictures on the Facebook page. You could share them inside the VIP group as well, but you could share them on the main page also. All right, guys, if you have any questions, please let us know. Thank you.